Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Very warm welcome to all of you who are joining us from different parts of the world to Talk Shop by Faiza. I'm very honored and pleased to have a very distinguished guest today on board, Miss Aysha Baqir. I'm thankful to her that she took her time, and it's pretty late in Singapore, probably 9 o'clock at night. But she agreed to do it. So thank you so much, Aisha. Uh, for those who don't know Aisha, Aisha is an acclaimed author. She is a development consultant. And board member of an NGO, which is known as Karavaan Craft Foundation, which is operating in Pakistan. And she is helping strategize a lot of things. And there is a Rumi quote which tells a lot about her. The quote goes like, "Raise your words, not voices. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder." This is quote by Rumi. Um, Wonderful. Aisha, good to have you here. Thank you so much for talk about her. So it's going to be English for a lot of audience who is going to watch us. We can switch to Urdu where we find it useful, but primarily it's going to be in English. So Aisha, thank you so much. Very warm welcome. Uh, how did you're an accomplished writer. You have accomplished you are now.
I'm listening you in between. Sorry. Can you just repeat that?
Yeah,
I just lost you. Your voice was echoing.
no problem. Before we come to the work that you're doing professionally, tell us how, as a child, you were. What sort of child you were?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Faiza, thank you so much for having me on this show. It's an honor, especially because I'm talking, I hope, to a primarily Pakistani audience, because there's great love for Pakistan in my heart. So, was I as a child? Well, I was the youngest. I think I was a bit of a brat.
Okay.
Choti thi sabse. I have an elder sister, an elder brother, and then there was me. I think I also got away with a lot because parents जो होते हैं busy होते हैं, बड़ी बहन के साथ, बड़े भाई के साथ.
Yeah.
My grandmother played a major role in my life. I was very close to her, and so childhood was, I think, very protected. I remember playing cricket in the street. I was a bit of a tomboy, girly girl, बिल्कुल भी नहीं थी. And my parents let me be, which I'm very thankful for. I would cycle on the streets, play cricket, be out and about, and it was a very idyllic childhood, as I recall. Were you able to hear me? Were you able to hear that? So.
Yeah.
So
Can you
now
hear
I
me?
can't
Aisha?
hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had a wonderful childhood, very protected, very spoiled one, and you graduated from Pakistan, and then your scholarship went to USA.
So my mother, yes, my mother was a teacher in the American school, and I was there because the timing suited us, and so I would go with her, I would come back with her, and uh, so my home life was conservative. My parents had conservative views, but I was studying in an American school, and it was a balance. And actually, I was thinking कि graduation के बाद 12th grade के बाद I will go to a local college, and that was because that's how my elder sister had gone, and that was what was expected. And actually 12th grade में मैंने apply भी नहीं किया था colleges के लिए जब my guidance counselor sort of told me, she called me to her room and she said, Aisha, what are you doing? Because you are the valedictorian, which means you're graduating with the highest GPA. Do you know that you have a very good chance of getting into a college abroad? And honestly उससे पहले मैंने नहीं सोचा था इसके बारे में क्योंकि सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता था, in the sense that no girl from my family had gone abroad to study. It was a big thing. And I remember जब Mount Holyoke से एक साल बाद मैंने apply किया, I went to Canada for a year. जब acceptance आई तब भी there were a lot of people, I think, who were like, you really want to send her? And I really I really thank my parents that they said yes. She's earned it and she deserves to go, because it was a scholarship, but still sending your daughter abroad. And I'm talking about 1992. In 1992, it really wasn't a done thing, especially from girls from Lahore. Wasn't really a done thing to send your daughter abroad. So I'm very thankful to them that
Took that
they had
particular
faith in me.
stance. Yeah. Yeah. So how
Yes.
was your experience in USA? So you secured a scholarship and you went there, and it is one of the most historical places that you went. And the
It,
interaction with diversity, you had interaction with diversity in Pakistan as well, as you studied in Canada and different schools here. But how was your interaction there?
so I think my time in Pakistan was really a bubble. I was caught up in my academic, sport life, friends. आप एक bubble में होते हो and you're seeing outside life, but you are not maybe learning too much about it, or maybe that was just my experience. So जब मैं बाहर गई, मुझे बहुत क्लियरली याद है, मैंने पहले हफ्ते अपने आप को डिक्लेयर किया कि मैं साइकोलॉजी मेजर हूँ, और everything was set that I'll go and sort of do my major in that. And then I attended a class with a professor called Kavita Kori, and it was on international relations. And मैं class में बैठी हुई हूँ, and before the lecture starts, they usually write out points on the whiteboard, and I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at Pakistan, and I'm looking at the social indicators, and I'm looking at the economic indicators, and I'm looking at the religious conflict growing in the country, and I remember this moment very distinctly, because I was like, I don't know this Pakistan. Uh, so they're talking about poverty. They're talking about I know so little about it. Why is it such a poor country? Why can't we do something to improve it? And in that classroom, I think the professor was brilliant. I think she shaped a lot of my sort of what happened onwards, and I went to study international relations. But वो जो एक moment होता है आपके life में, where it's in a moment you realize that, wow, I want to study international relations and I want to do something for the country. So that was really my moment, and I never looked back. And now I remember कि I think कि अगर मैं उधर रहती तो life बहुत फर्क होती. I could have done my master's from there, but I realized, Faiza, that I knew nothing about poverty, and if I wanted to do something about it, I had to go and learn about it.
I should just give me a minute. I just need to mute my TV. It turned on when light went off. Just a minute. Sorry. Sorry, apologies for that.
Not at all.
Yeah. So Aisha, you studied international relations and you studied economics. And what made you decide that you need to develop this, or you need to be the founding member of Karavaan Craft Foundation, which, by the way, is doing very, very well?
Yes, shukar, alhamdulillah. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you. So I knew I wanted to come back to Pakistan to work, and I did after graduation. I worked in the development sector, और मुझे लगा कि मैं work करके भी कुछ change नहीं कर पा रही हूँ. I was struggling. I was trying to make sense of how what I earn is changing anybody's life. How is it impacting anybody to live a better life? And that, I think that is a time in your early 20s when you want to see results and you want to see change. Absolutely. And you're impatient, and that's a spark. And I was a bit disillusioned, actually. And so I decided that, okay, I'm going to go apply and do my MBA. And then I think these are things that happen, with God.
Yeah.
I was somewhere and I met Roshane Zafar, who's, the founding member of Kashaf and sort of the president. And we started talking, and she listened to me and she said, Aisha, something, go ahead and do your MBA. And if after 2 years you are interested, I'll have a job for you.
Oh, this is
And
interesting.
yeah, and there it was. So I went into LUMS. I learned a lot about, I learned actually, you see, because my approach towards poverty is not that we need to feel sympathy for the poor or charity. वो अपनी जगह है.
Hmm.
Magar you really need to make programs that enable the poor to become independent of you. And I think the MBA helped me in that.
Yeah.
So 2 years after my MBA at LUMS, I was back at Kashaf, and my class at LUMS was horrified कि ये graduate करके LUMS से MNC नहीं, no bank, the salaries that they were getting and the salary I got, it was a world of a difference. I brought the whole average down. But this was it. And at Kashaf, I got the opportunity to do exactly what I wanted. And thankful to Roshane for that. She made me the head of the enterprise development program. This was 1998. There was me and there was another girl, and we would set out every morning. We would get dropped, or we would take a rickshaw, and we would go into the Kasur Road, go to the villages, talk to the women, mobilize them. Some women wanted to join, some women didn't want to join. We sat with them, we talked, we formed groups, we taught them skills. We taught them how to develop products, how to do marketing, costing, production, and it's almost like a ripple. The momentum just carried forward. And before we knew, it was 2004, and Karavaan had gotten so big that, Rashani and I sat down and she said, why don't you spin it off as a separate company? And that's when Karavaan was born, a separate non-profit company working to alleviate poverty by working with village women and through trainings. And trainings and based on a value chain development approach. And sort of just to go into that, what a value chain development approach is, that we feel that women need to be connected to markets that are growing in the city. And so when we train a woman, we make sure that she's gaining a skill that she will be able to use in the market. And when we say she'll be able to use, we actually then go forth and arrange, after the training, we arrange buyer seller meetings. We should make sure that she's connected to the buyer independently of us. We are not the middleman, anywhere in between. One thing that I have learned is that, yes, I think I've learned is that village women are smart, hardworking, diligent. बहुत से लोग कहते हैं, वो झूठ बोलती हैं या वो चोरी करती हैं. Well, from my perspective, in the 15 odd years of working with them, when a baby girl is born, she's the last one to eat in the house. अगर कोई गलती होती है तो उसकी होती है, अगर वो एडमिट करती है तो उसको मार पड़ती है. तो अगर आप स्टडी करें साइकोलॉजी, तो यही होएगा ना कि she will learn to shirk responsibility. So when we met these women, we had to first develop a trust. और ट्रस्ट से फायदा ये मतलब है कि अगर बारिश हो रही है या गर्मी है, हम वहाँ होते थे मीटिंग के लिए, वो होए या ना होए, हम वहाँ होते थे. अगर हमने उनको कोई कमिटमेंट की है तो हम वहाँ होते थे. आई रिमेम्बर जब प्रोग्राम शुरू हुआ तो हम मार्केटिंग करना चाहते थे प्रोडक्ट्स की, और उस वक्त एनजीओस में ये बड़ा इशू होता है कि डोनर सपोर्ट करेगा या नहीं करेगा. एंड आई रिमेम्बर no donor wanted to support marketing. Literally, Karavaan had just been born. आप समझ लें, donor said कि आप training करवा लें, मगर हमने marketing नहीं करें. We're not going to fund marketing at all. And so we were like, okay, what do? We need the money also. We need growth, and after that we can be sustainable. So we went to the village women and we said, how about training but no marketing? And they said, but that's not what you told us. आपने हमें कहा था हम तो आप marketing करवाएंगे, हमारे साथ training भी मगर marketing भी. And then we said, yeah, that's what we told you. So we had to actually go back to the donors and say we can't do it, because for us it doesn't make sense कि आप किसी औरत को train कर रहे हैं या group of औरतों को train कर रहे हैं, and then you are sort of backing out and saying, well, now the training's done, you're on your own.
Yeah.
So Karavaan really does a 360 degree. We teach them everything about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And we also try and not make them dependent on us. That is not the purpose of Karavaan. It's development to make them independent.
So I think this is indeed one of the tremendous, incredible job that you're doing, and it's not easy at all. So Tell us about some of the challenges that you're facing. Still now, I think it's a long journey from 1998 till now. A lot has changed economically, globally. The people's perceptions, they have changed, and there are a lot of things that are easy now. Most of these people now have cell phones. Probably in
Yes.
1998, they did not have cell phones or access to computers back then. So now a lot of things have changed. What are the challenges that you're facing still now?
Um, I think, there are challenges. The challenges are always that uh, when the circumstances change, वो औरत घबरा जाती है because she doesn't have an MBA or a schooling or a set
Hmm.
of support system to rely on. She's really on her own.
Hmm.
And she doesn't really feel comfortable sometimes even telling us कि oh ये problem है, especially south of Punjab में. So we have to be, we I would challenges in the sense we have to be very sort of proactive in making sure that our program has really gone through thorough scrutiny,
Hmm.
that we are keeping a check on her, that she feels that she's connected. Um, if we connect her to networks,
Hmm.
and by network, I don't mean one buyer or two buyers, a network of buyers, and we train her to be a mature entrepreneur, she will survive. That is really, and it's always a back and forth. Aajkal ke jo, the COVID pandemic, all businesses are suffering.
Yeah.
And the current CEO, Danish Jabbar Khan, has come up with very innovative strategies to overcome that. In fact, we're having a 2-day online exhibition, and I can forward you details of that, and you can perhaps share that online. So everybody
Absolutely.
will be entering a chat room where they'll be able to buy products from the entrepreneurs. So for every challenge, I think you have a solution. You just have to be proactive about taking the necessary steps to make sure it's implemented. And trying to view life from their point of view. I'll give you an example. जब ये program शुरू हुआ, जब मैंने कश्यप join किया, I think the first thing Roshana said was you need to understand poverty, and I said, oh, what do you mean? I know poverty. She said, nahi, because to understand poverty you have to live like them, and she sent us to Bangladesh with the Grameen Bank की branch में, and I remember हम वहाँ एक हफ्ता रहे हैं एक झुग्गी में उनके साथ बिल्कुल.
Oh,
और
really?
आई थिंक, हाँ
Okay.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल उनके साथ जैसे वो रहते थे, एंड आपको बहुत समझ आ जाती है दूसरे दिन तीसरे दिन. आई थिंक हमें पता चला कि जिस पानी से हम नहा रहे थे वो बाय छप्पर से आ रहा था, जहाँ बफलो डॉग्स, all the wildlife was sort of swimming in. So
Really?
yeah, and it teaches you a lot about, so every time we are developing a program we're trying to see it from their point of view.
Hmm.
And Pfizer, that actually helped me shape the program and help the team shape the program. And even when it came to writing, a lot of people ask me the question, but you studied in a proper school, you went abroad. How do you, how would you be able to know that, what, your characters went through, what Zara went through, what Tara went through. And for me, it's like, how do I explain the 15 years of my life where every morning I would go to the village and at 6, 7 o'clock, I would be with them and I would be, talking to them and eating with them and sitting with them and listening to them and trying to mobilize them. That was my reality.
Hmm.
Uh, because until you understand their whole complexity, you will never be able to develop a program that they're comfortable with.
Absolutely. This is incredible. I think the philosophy that you had, that you have, the thing that you just said, that you have to walk into someone's shoe to see where the shoe pinches and you are able to relate to them. You cannot go an extra mile if you just stay where you are in your own comfort zone and you make strategies. Probably a lot of things don't go right because we make strategies for the things that are not practical. We are using our own perspective for that, and they don't actually create any change in people's life. So Ashish, you did it, and I'm sure it was not a very easy thing to do, and especially when you started doing it after 1998, you must have faced a lot of resistance from a lot of people. So how did you tackle that?
You'll be very surprised. Actually, there was no resistance because nobody really wanted to know what I was doing. It wasn't something. मैं जाती थी गाँव में वापस आती थी. I would continue to meet my friends, but at that time, working in a bank or working in a big company or startup was the exciting thing to do.
Okay.
Nobody really wanted to know कि मैं क्या कर रही हूँ या मैं जाके गाँव के औरतों के साथ क्या कर रही हूँ. And I was very happy also to have that incubation time while trying to figure out what is the best step for them. Because until you have something substantial and also, Faiza, it's not really me that I would say. It's first of all, it was the team with me. It was the village women themselves. मैं तो उनको एक सिर्फ I'm talking to them, I'm showing them. It was really they, from our first few clients, Sukra Baji, Halima Baji, to our clients now in Bahawalpur. It is them who've made this program rise. So, yes, there have been challenges. There have been challenges when I think the deepest challenges, the most hurtful challenges have been that when we would connect them to a buyer and they would make a commitment, the woman would make a commitment and then back out. And we would be left. And, we have a big, huge client saying, कि मुझे तो order चाहिए. And this woman saying, कि मैं तो नहीं दे सकती. और मैंने तो, thinking कि मैं कर सकूंगी, मैंने नहीं किया. And then we would go back to her and we would say, it's okay. Let's now manage it and let's work together. So I think working together as a team sort of made us overcome these challenges. But honestly, I can't, nobody came to me and said that you can't do it. My parents were extremely supportive. My friends never really ventured to ask what you do because it isn't what I'm saying, the in thing, na, कि आप गाँव की औरतों की बात करें. For me, I love to talk about it, but if the others are not interested, I will not impose and say, and want to know what I did today. मैं 10 घंटे धूप में बैठी या मैं जाके पूरा दिन उधर गुजारा या छप्पर था या याद है एक दिन कि हम
लोग नहीं जाते. They just want to see, okay, actually what you're doing, is it producing results?
And like I said, for a lot of people, this is not the most exciting thing to be doing, right? People are more into how much are you earning and how much are you, how big are you? And it's not big at all. I remember एक दफा हम एक वो गांव में चल रहे थे and वहाँ छोटा सा ट्रैक था, दोनों साइड पे छप्पर था और मैं और मेरी कॉलीग चल रहे थे, हमें कहीं जाना था एक बाजी से मिलने and right in front of us there was a herd of buffaloes and one of them broke free and started charging towards us. Really? Now on either side we are like literally there is a swamp, but we also knew that at that time that the only thing we could do was jump, and we did. And so it was those circles. Don't you realize that this is it? And we jumped, but then we also realized that we can't go back until the work has been done.
Yeah.
So, the Bajis are very nice. They took us in, उन्होंने हमें चादर दी, फिर हमने चादर ली, फिर हम we did our work, but the story तब कोई interest नहीं. अगर मैं पहले बताती तब तो कहते तो क्यों काम कर रही हो ना, you go to a bank and work there, sit in an AC office and have chai and do the gup shop. And I'll be very honest, I didn't do that because I didn't want to. I felt a high when I was doing this work. I felt I was creating change. कोई change हो रहा है, कोई तब्दीली हो रही है, and that is what was important for me at that time. So, and I'm also lucky, Faiza, that I had the background to be able to do it. In the sense, the pressure wasn't on me कि मैं एक certain amount of पैसे earn करके वापस लाऊं. Money was important. It has always been important, but it has never been the most important thing that I have to support a family. So God has been very kind in that I had the space and the time to do this.
Zabardast. Actually, ये जो आपने काम किया है to help these girls understand how to market their product, how to this inward journey of reflection that they have the skill and that skill is sellable and they can do something about it. ये बहुत बड़ी एक gift है जो आपके और आपकी team ने उनको दिया. So ये इस वक्त जो कारवां का जो platform है, how many cities in Pakistan it is covering?
It's working in South Punjab, and now we were trying to get into Sindh, but right now it is in South Punjab. It's in 11 districts of South Punjab.
11 districts of South Punjab, right. So this is a huge number.
And about 25,000, yes.
25,000 women are associated with it. So you just mentioned a few minutes back that you are conducting an online exhibition on July 10th and 11th. and I'm sure there must be sponsors and there must be people helping you out with it. So how are you going to do it? I mean, how are these artisans going to come and be part
It's
of this?
a
This is
yes. So
phenomenal.
Pfizer, it's a virtual exhibition.
Yeah, it's a
I think
virtual. Yeah,
yeah, so I think somebody was saying, we had a board meeting today, and one of the board members was saying that life is going to be virtual for some time. So it is,
yeah,
you're going to be inside the virtual exhibition hall, and then people are going to be talking, and the women are going to be there, and you can buy online. Even customers who are all international customers, they can buy from there. So it is going to
oh,
be
this
global.
is great. Oh, this is great.
And I think, inshallah, this will just be a start of.
Okay, yeah. So this is probably would be the first one. This is the first virtual exhibition you are conducting.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So great. And you just mentioned that global audience probably can take part in it, which is incredible
Yes, and
for
they
these people.
purchase products also.
So how many artisans are displaying their work in this virtual exhibition?
So the model is that we have 11 female sale agents, and female sale agents are those women. They're entrepreneurs who actually then manage a pool of producers.
Okay.
And producers are those women who just want to work, but they don't want to necessarily go into any business transaction. They just want to, give their production to the female sale agents. So 11 female sale agents, inshallah.
Oh, mashallah. This is lovely. Uh, Aisha, then you also wrote a book, and the book
Yes.
is also on the life of a person living in a village. How did that
Ji.
particular thing come to you? How did you realize that you have to write a book?
Okay, so I think 2003 May we relocated to Singapore. My husband has a job offer, and I think leaving Karavaan, I think my only sort of prayer was that if I'm leaving Karavaan, God, please let it just go on. It cannot be dependent on me. It's too
Hmm.
big now. And at that time, the situation in Pakistan was a bit volatile, in the sense there was a lot of bombs happening. And I remember my son used to go to school, and it happened at that. And I think I was petrified. So when the job offer came about, I thought I was, yes, okay, I can't, because I would not be able to take the tension of just sending him to school and then
Yeah.
waiting for something to happen. And thank God, yes, Danish, the current CEO, he took the Karavaan on board, and then he took it off. So it's doing well. And I was now in Singapore without anything to do. And मैं Faiza have not stopped working since I think when I was in high school. Summers से मैं tuition दे रही होती थी. कुछ ना
Right.
कुछ I was always doing. College में I told you I was in scholarship. I had to work to be on that scholarship. I've never stopped. Summers में internships. कुछ ना कुछ. So this was the first time I was in Singapore without without having a job, without going to an office. And I realized very quickly that I cannot just spend my day not doing anything. The shopping, the lunching, I can't do it. Once in a while it's fine, but this is not me. This is not who I am, and I think I have to thank my mother for that. She shaped me to be someone more. And so, and there's a group here in Singapore called the Singapore Writers Group, and I went to keep a friend company.
Hmm.
And I think the fantastic or the amazing thing about Singapore is that there are people from all over. And that night I remember sitting in someone's house, and everybody was sharing their stories. And I went to the first meeting, the second meeting, the third, and then suddenly I started to realize I know nothing about writing. I've never studied how English writing. It's something I've had to
This
teach
is
myself.
incredible. Then you wrote a novel and without a technical. Yeah, this
No,
is
I didn't.
great.
I studied international relations, and a lot of people are like, "Well, how?" I wasn't bad at English, but even in Karavaan, I was writing donor proposals. But donor proposals are very different than a fiction book,
Yeah,
Beyond the Fields. So,
yeah.
um, so I think Singapore Writers Group, which I'm very thankful for, it gave me the space to share my story. And I came up with my pitch, and everybody was intrigued. I wrote a few chapters, and everybody was intrigued. There were a lot of challenges. I will be very honest. I didn't know how to write fiction. I'm still learning. I will be very honest with you. For me, it's a journey. Alhamdulillah, that I've started. And
Okay, I get
Again, God's very kind, and I sort of feel that I need to learn more about writing and about authors and about how this journey will sort of transform me. So, but it really came about from those meetings, putting something together, putting a concept together, structuring plot, characters, voices, the vocabulary. I
it.
had to do a lot of online learning. There were trainings also that authors would conduct, and then I would take part in them, a day's workshop, and I loved it. So suddenly I was engaged. I was again, I had a goal, I had a purpose. And so for me, I think if the first part of my life was really busy with sort of trying to overcome poverty, I think through writing, I found a voice to talk about social injustice because I saw a lot of that. I heard a lot of that in the field. And Karavaan, being a non-profit organization with a mandate to just work with women in economics there, we couldn't do anything about it. And I always felt that, I remember we were talking to this one Baji and a training school had been set up. We'd set up a training school. And so we said, she had two girls and we said, Baji, Nazia or Shazia ko aap, bhej sakti ho udhar. And she said, no, main kabhi bhi nahi bhejungi. And we said, why? She said, because बेसिकली द ऑनर जो मैंने जो इज्जत उनकी है इतने सालों से 12 साल की होगी 13 साल की वो 1 मिनट में जा सकती है. And honestly, me and my colleague was horrified. And she was true. This is her reality. You can't challenge it. You can't say, okay, no, it's not true. It does. It takes a minute for that girl to be raped or, to be assaulted. And that's it, right? Because in that village, her life is destroyed. And it just did not make sense to me. First, she's the one who's undergoing that traumatic experience. And then she is being blamed for it. And a lot of it, I think, stems back to, Pakistan in the late 70s, early 80s, when Hudud ordinance came into being, and suddenly 4 witnesses were being required for a woman sort of to prove it was rape. None of it made sense. My mother took me to a demonstration for that, which was held for, Safia Bibi, who was, I think, a 13-year-old girl raped by her employer and his son, unable to prove it. And then she was charged with adultery, zina, and then, given lashes, and she was pregnant and blind. And now I'm reading the news these days on social media. I mean, the laws have changed. In 2006, Women's Protection Act did come into being. In 2016, there was a further criminal amendment was made to enable women to, report rape and not be accused for adultery. But, laws are like a Chinese whisper. Aap keh to dete hain, but by the time it gets to the village, to koi aur cheez aati hai.
True.
आप बना तो देते हैं जो implementation होती है वो कुछ और होती है.
So true.
So I felt that this needs to be written about. If there is a crime, if there is a robbery in your house, you will not say, why did you leave the window open? या आपने दरवाजा क्यों नहीं 4 दफा bolt किया? So why then in a case of rape are we even looking at the woman, and even in any part, irrespective of what time it is, what she is wearing, who she's out with, it just doesn't make sense why you hold her accountable for that. And I think that's where the girls I could relate to, the girls I had spent, I think, a large, considerable part of my life were in the village. And they were resilient, they were brave. So that's where Zara came up from, and that's where her sister Tara came up from. And I think there are girls, and there are millions of girls like her in Pakistan and across the world who are willing to challenge the norms and say that no, because I feel that we really need to stand up and say no to any kind of social injustice. Absolutely. Poverty is just one of those facets, but there's a lot more.
Yeah.
So that's where it came about.
Yeah, so you came to Lahore, I think, last year, and Karachi Festival and Lahore Festival. You were part of it. You launched your book at that time?
Yes, it was launched. It's published by Marshall Cavendish, which is a Singaporean publishing house. But I launched it at the Lahore Literary Festival and in the Karachi Literary Festival. Yes.
So how was that experience? Because these are the most profound of the festivals that we have in Pakistan.
Sorry, I lost you again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've lost you again. Can you?
Okay, I said, how was your experience talking to an audience? These are the biggest literary festivals that we have in Pakistan. So, how was the experience talking about your book, talking about
I
these?
was I was thrilled. I was thrilled by the response of the girls. I mean, somebody in Singapore had warned me, कि नहीं, oh, you'll be trolled, and a lot of you'll come up with a lot of negative publicity. But no, girls have come up to me, hugged me. I don't know them, and they've come up to me, hugged me, and said your book meant a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know them from anywhere, and when someone says that to you, that it's made me change or it's made me think. I think you just feel you're on the right track.
yeah,
There's a long way to go. So the the response was absolutely thrilling and brilliant. I've never been so happy. I feel a lot has changed even after I've moved away from Pakistan, and to have girls talking about these issues without feeling a sense of shame or dishonor is what we need to now expand, so that it's just not the wealthy or the better off that are speaking about these issues. It's also everybody who is a citizen of Pakistan. Or that way, Faiza, if you look at the World Health Organization's figures, they say 1 in every 3 women
yeah.
worldwide has been physically or sexually abused by her partner or non-partner. So you
True.
have to, it's another epidemic. So
Hmm.
we need to talk about this, and talk about this in a way that make our, family, community more aware of it.
This is a
I
serious
will
issue.
have
You're
it.
absolutely right. Or I think the Me Too movement, which started, I think last year it started. It also
Yes.
helped give people platform to raise their voices, and we have seen, many movie stars and producers and many big names are coming under fire due to this particular. You just use the very right word. It's another pandemic that we are facing, and there has to be a solution to that. And in Pakistan, there has been a tremendous stride in this particular domain with passing, they passed an act in 2010 as well, and they have introduced a few changes which were relevant to the times in which we are living. So there has been a change, and then movies and dramas which were made to highlight this particular issue. It has also helped sensitize people about these things. Yeah.
So I think I would just like to add that I feel there is a long way to go. I remember after one of the author talks, and this wasn't at Lahore Literary Festival or the KLF, it was another talk, and my sister was there. She was there attending, and she said, you talked, and uh, a lot of people agreed, but there was one woman who said, well, if my daughter was raped, I'd send her out of the country.
Oh,
And so, there's still a long way to go. We talk the talk, but are we walking it?
true.
um, are we supporting women? Are we really out there? I'm still reading about cases. There's a law now that uh, the case has to be recorded immediately by the police station, but they're not, that the DNA testing has to be done, but it's not being done.
Hmm.
So my issue is that the legal framework now is there now, but there is a lot to be done,
Yes, it's
as
not
far as
easy at all. Yeah.
it's not easy. So I think internally as a community, like I said, our concepts of, one of the most confusing things I've come across is of honor. The honor hai kya? What is honor? You have to demystify this word.
Hmm.
Especially, you know, it's been taught honor is individualistic, right? मगर जब आप पूरी family के honor को एक लड़की के ऊपर pin कर देते हैं, say, okay, now she's just not responsible for her own
Yeah.
honor, but she's responsible for her father's, mother's, brothers, sisters, phupat, ayab, everybody.
Yeah.
It's what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's not. Where is that written? Where? Why? Why is that girl responsible for her whole family? She is responsible only for her own actions.
Absolutely.
So I still find a lot of contradictions in that. But as you said, media, dramas, I think everything can play a huge role in challenging these stereotypes and giving women and men, for that matter, girls and boys, for that matter,
True. Both
um,
of them. Yes.
yeah, and now I think there's more also for
Yeah.
all the binaries and non-binaries. So we have to give them an equal sort of chance to
Representation
talk about
across.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Aisha, you were writing another. You said you're working on another book as well. So Would you,
Yes.
yeah. So is it a good time to share what exactly that book is going to be about?
Well, it's about a couple of things. It's about the three main characters, and it's partially set in Singapore and partially in Pakistan. It has a lot to do with child trafficking, child abuse. I think that's something that's very close to my heart. In fact, yeah, so, something I wrote will be coming out online soon on child abuse. It's about women undermining each other. It's about it's about marriages and what they go through. So, the three characters and all grappling with their own issues, and it then ties together in the city of Lahore, which I love and which I'm from. So, inshallah, I'm hoping that it'll turn into something which is,
So when is this
which,
book coming?
well, let's see. Abhi to I've just started, till I didn't start it until a few months ago. So I've just sort of
Okay, okay. So it's a work
the
in
skeleton
progress.
of it actually. It has a long way to go.
And
But I wrote a short story. Has been it's a part of an anthology, and going to be published by an Indian publisher. It's about domestic violence. It's called The Social Worker. Uh, and so I'm writing in between this. I've been asked to submit another short story. So I'm keeping myself busy. But again, I think my voice talks about social issues in our lives. And when we say that we want to improve someone's life, we have to really look at all facets of it before we go and make that intervention.
abs-
Um,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
um, so it's the rest I'll sort of leave to leave to
Yeah.
sort of when it comes
Sure,
out.
why not? We will love to read it. Well, absolutely. Will these be uploaded on your website too, or would there be another somewhere else that we have to
The
log on?
short stories, no. So because they're part of other anthologies,
Okay.
the two that I've been asked, one is going to be published by an Indian publisher.
Mm-hmm.
It's about women and violence against women, and
Hmm.
the other is actually going to be published by a Singaporean publisher, and it's on love. So
Okay.
two very different themes, yeah.
Oh, this is very nice. This is very nice. So, how does the inspiration comes to you? A lot of writers say that there is a muse that comes to them, and more of the writers that I have talked to, they say that there most of the time they have this writer's block too. So, do these things come to you as well, or are they happening to you too?
Um, I wouldn't say been, I've experienced writer's block. I mean, writer's block in the sense that if I feel that sometimes I said I'm still learning. I'm learning how to write. For me, this is something that I need to equip myself with the right skills. So if I ever feel that I am lost, I'll go pick up a book or I'll start doing research. And very soon I'll want to get back into writing again.
Hmm.
Other people's writers, famous writers, Isabella Hollande, um, you know, they inspire you. Uh, and so every time I've faced a sort of a block or something, I go back to reading.
Hmm.
I look at the events that are going on. A lot of my writing is actually coming from issues, like I said, as I feel strongly about, women's economic empowerment, social injustice, child abuse.
Hmm.
These are issues which I feel I have zero tolerance for. I mean, I feel I just cannot. I feel that we've come too far now to say, there's an excuse or to make
Yeah.
excuses.
True.
So I
True.
think I write about issues that are close, but I also try to write in a way that the audience can relate, not in a sort of
Yeah.
a moral or a preaching way, but something that you can understand because we all actually human also, and there
Hmm.
are different
Hmm.
facets to us.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
and I read something very interesting that a story can be told from many points of views. It just doesn't happen from one point of view,
Hmm.
and we tend to see only our point of view. And sometimes you think you've gotten away with something, but what has the other party gone through? So
Hmm.
that's something I'm also trying to address. That we should step back and then try and see the more holistic picture.
I know. most of the people, they say that writing is a journey within. It's
Yeah.
something that, yeah. So it's not something that you can artificially come up with. It comes from within. So, are there any writers and authors who inspire you?
Well, as just mentioned, Isabella Hollande. I'm inspired by her, Khalid Hosseini, Hanif Qureshi, are few that come to my mind. And there are many others. And I've enjoyed, I enjoy a tremendous variety of fiction and non-fiction, but I tend to lean towards fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Anything to do, I think, because I'm speaking about injustice, anything that, the book Thief, for instance, is a book that's very close to my heart. Anything that talks about, brings in
Mm-hmm.
characters which are on a mission or a journey or a transformation, which means more to me, naturally. I'm pulled into the story. Um, these days, I'm reading Red by Orhan Pamuk. So, it's
This Aisha, you mentioned that you are part of a Singapore writing group. I've received a question here on WhatsApp. Somebody has asked me that what difference do you feel? Of course, there's going to be a huge difference between Pakistani writers societies and Singapore writing societies. So the question probably is the person probably is trying to ask is, what is the actually difference that is very, very striking between these two countries that you have been to, and the sort of writers and poets you have met? What is the one striking quality that you see?
okay. So, I mean, I was invited as to participate in the Singapore Writers Group festival as well last year.
Mm-hmm.
And one difference that I've noticed is that there's no there's everybody is very, very down to earth. You will suddenly realize that you're sitting next to a celebrity, and they will not be treated like a celebrity. They will have walked in with the rest, they will have sat down with the rest. It's a very approachable sort of, no shosha about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
They will be chatting to you, you'll be asking them questions. So there's more sort of an equalizing factor here, because that's just the way society is structured here. Um, Even in terms of nobody, like I said, there's nobody who's high or low. Everybody's really at the same level, and that's actually something that I like about Singapore, because when I walked into the Singapore Writers Group meeting, I was the only Pakistani.
Oh,
Um, and I
are you
was
still the only Pakistani in that group?
well, now the group's grown so big, we've broken into different genres. So now there's fiction, there's young adult, and so I'm not sure in my genre. Yes, I am. But
Mm-hmm.
the other people, they're from all over the world,
Yeah.
with different experiences, and I think it enabled me to. They were very. It was a very enabling experience. They wanted to hear, and even if you messed up, they were kind.
Ah, yeah.
Uh, so
There
they
are no
didn't tear you
judgments.
out. Yeah, so they're kind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In
I
that
think,
sense, I've learned to be kind also. You don't rip anybody apart. You don't, the first instinct is no. It's not to say, no,
yeah,
you're wrong.
yeah,
It's to say, okay, well, let me listen to you. What do you have to say? I like that. I like that. You could improve that. And that was also nice.
yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
learn, see what's positive in people,
yeah.
and you learn to build them up.
Yeah, true. I think this is a very nurturing environment that you have. So one of the questions which I received before the session started was that your book talks about social injustice and the judgmental society that we have. So do you, as an author, you just mentioned, Vese,
So, Aisa, your voice
but do
is broken.
you, sorry, can you hear me, Aisha?
I can.
Yeah. So, do you, as an author, you just mentioned that there is an enabling environment that makes you feel comfortable to talk about things, and even if you make mistakes, that's all right. So, do you think that this enabling environment, this nurturing environment that you have experienced over there, can shape a lot of youngsters here in Pakistan too? We in Pakistan are very blessed to have our population. 65% of our population right now is below the age of 30, and it's actually a talent dynamite that Pakistan is sitting on. So, do you think that this particular aspect, that people can be enablers rather than judge, can that contribute to developing the people's skills, abilities, enhancing them? Do you think, as a writer, a lot of people should be talking about it, the positivity, the energy that we can induce in people through these stories? Do you think it's very, very possible?
Yeah, Faiza, I do, but I also feel for that you need to have a mindset which is, which, you know, you have to have a mindset and an understanding that uh, it's not a zero sum game. It's a
Mm,
win-win. It's
yeah,
not that I win, you lose, or you lose, I win.
true.
We both can be winners. And that mindset needs to be developed in the youth. Um, I was actually just talking to my son and I was telling him, you are only as, strong as, sort of, you know, people you know and people you take with you and you lead with you. You alone are really nothing. And so when you talk about youth, yes, if we build networks for them, if they're positive networks,
Yeah,
if they're not, bullying,
yeah.
if they're not shaming,
Mm,
if there's no jealousy, if we are willing to let go of the fact that there's a lot we don't know and
yeah,
I'm not the best on this, and we might reach a better opinion if all of us work together
yeah,
and not be like, well, I have to take credit for this and I have to take credit for this and I have to take credit for this. We might, it might, change. It might help, or it would definitely, I think, help the youth to work together and to be enablers.
yeah.
And that needs to come from within also, but then also your teachers and the people around you, because you're shaped by them.
Yeah. The
So
media,
by
and I think everybody has to
yeah,
play their role in bringing about this particular. We have to use this as a momentum, build up the
yeah,
momentum and use it as a movement, because there's a lot that these kids can do, and there is a lot that we are expecting a lot from them, and especially
yeah,
in this unprecedented times with COVID. I don't know how is it going to change. It has changed a lot of things. It has demystified a lot of myths that we had. People never thought that working from home would be as acceptable as it is now,
yes.
and it has become sort of a new normal. There are a lot of challenges for these young kids who would be graduating this year, next year, and the years to come. So the life has changed. What do you think from your perspective? Now you're dealing with young girls here. You have been part of an NGO and you have been part of a bank in Pakistan. In Singapore, you must have seen a lot of new trends as well. So what
Mhm.
challenges do you feel that these youngsters might face?
Um, I think life is going to be changed on a number of fronts. Jobs you had thought of, careers you had thought of, education, the way you thought would happen, um, is going to change,
Hmm.
given what's happening, just not in Pakistan, but all over the world.
Yeah.
But I think it's also a great journey for looking within and asking that, what do I really want to do?
Hmm.
What change do I want to see? What change do I want to make? Um, and then going ahead and making the change the way you see it.
Hmm.
Life doesn't always go according to plan A, plan B, plan C. Sometimes you just have to be, well, how can I make a difference to however many people in the way that I choose?
Yeah.
What
True.
inspires me? What fuels me?
Yeah.
Um, what makes me shine?
Yeah.
What makes me happy?
Hmm.
These are the questions of, how can I make anybody else's life better?
Yeah.
I think these are
Yeah.
the questions that we need to be sort of asking in these times,
Yeah.
um, when so much is being taken away and there's so much happening.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and if we start asking, if the youth start asking these questions,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think they'll be able to achieve a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, the youth in Pakistan, I feel, there are fantastic programs happening now across in Pakistan,
Yeah.
and
Sort of integration programs.
yes,
Yeah. There's a lot of
so this
social
is
change.
the time. Even if it's schooling is delayed for a year or two, or they do their own, or if it's online,
Mm-hmm.
this can also be looked at as an opportunity. That what did I do during this time? Did I just you know, wait for things to go back to normal, but we don't even know what normal is.
Yeah.
But what am I waiting for?
Yeah.
If each day is a gift, what am I should be doing something with my life. That's been my perspective. And I don't want to judge here. People do different things with their life. People who want to be homemakers, I respect them completely. Um, Everybody works on a different dynamic. I work because it makes me a happier person, and I feel I'm able to give more and share more.
Mm-hmm.
This does not mean that people who do not, it takes anything away from them.
Yeah. True.
Um, so you have to see what really works for you and how you are better as a person.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Aisha, mashallah, you have had a fuller life, wonderful experiences. You have traveled the world, you have met people. Are there any mentors in your life that you would want to thank today?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of the mentors in my life from a very early childhood has always been my mother, Aysha Baqir. She's been, I think, someone I've always looked up to, and guided me, and I think given me the space to do my own thing. I think maybe even when her friends would be like, "Are you sure you really want to?" But she's a girl. She just didn't let that, and even that for that matter, my father. But my mother really, I felt that supported me during those times. Um, Especially when it was time for me to sort of, when they say it's time to get married.
Hmm.
Yes, there was pressure, but there was always a buffer. I felt. My professor Kavita Corey, again, someone who I felt that changed my perspective on what I was going to do, because remember I was going to be a psychology major. So,
Oh, okay. Nice.
so,
Okay.
uh,
This is
so
interesting.
it's yeah, so it's these two primarily.
That's wonderful.
Roshani, another person I look up to. Uh, I think if there's one person where I felt that, uh, you know, uh, I'll tell you a very funny story. When I met my husband, and we were sort of talking on the phone, and then he would call me in office, and I would say, listen, I can't talk more than 5 minutes. And he said, what? He would be at a multinational. He said, what sort of a rule is this? I said, this is the way it is. So we can only take personal calls for 5 minutes. So in terms of making sure that we were really working at our best to improve the lives of those, I think and he was like, oh my God, the first organization I've come across that does this. And I said, no, it's a rule. I can only take personal calls for 5 minutes, and I have a meeting, I have this, I cannot, this is work is important. She's another person, mentor I look up to. So yeah, there have been a lot, and I've been grateful for, I think I met them at the right time. They were there in the right time to sort of enable me to go ahead on my journey.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Aisha, there's so much that we still can talk about, but the program's time is ending. And is there any message that you would want to give to the people who are going to watch you? Anything that you want to say to all of us?
Um, I think just this, that resilience is important. Don't give up. Just be resilient. If you really want to do something, writing the book, getting it published was not easy.
Hmm.
I thought I'd done my whole, I wrote out the book in a year, and I thought I had it all under my cover, and then I sent it off, and they said, we love the concept, but your writing, go back to writing. You need to learn how to write. So I was resilient. It took me time, years, to sort of find the character's voice, to get the vocabulary. And like I say, even now I'm in a learning, I'm constantly trying to learn and improve myself. um, so just, if you want to do something and you think it's right for you, go ahead and do it. Don't give up. because it will happen, God willing.
Hmm. Hmm. Thank you, Aisha. Lovely talking to you. Where we end this program, wonderful. I mean, it is a beautiful journey of transformation that you have had. Allah has been kind to you. So have been the people in your life who have helped you become enabler and shaped you in a wonderful person that you are now. We wish you many more successes, and we would be looking forward to read your stories and books. And probably I will have another session with you, probably inshallah soon down the lane on the books that you're writing or the short stories that you're writing, or maybe when I drop by in Singapore and I'll catch up with you inshallah. Thank you, Aisha, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.